All right. Thank you, Mr. Gineng, uh, for the permission to record this interview. I'm so happy to have you in this interview this morning, and I know I'm fortunate to have you because I know you're busy managing infrastructure portfolio of CGGI in Indonesia. To start with, I would like to explain to you some information concerning this interview. So here I'm as a student of Curtin University, and I'm conducting research on Indonesia as green infrastructure investment destination. So with that topic, I would like to have your view and also your experiences perhaps with regard to the topic. And also this interview is part of the research and then is conducted under the Curtin University Human Research Ethic Committee. So with regard to this interview today, the interview will take about 40 to 45 minutes. I hope you have that time for me. And all of the information you've shared will be kept confidential and only be used as a study purpose. And you may skip any question if you do not feel comfortable to answer, or you can stop the interview at any time without any consequences. Um, then the last thing is that I would like to give you opportunity. Maybe you have some question before we start.
Yeah, nope, I think it's quite clear. Thank you very
Okay.
much for inviting me to the interview and good to see you again.
Okay. I'm happy to see you again too, Mr. Gineng. All right. Um, let's start with about Indonesia's investment environment. So, what is your view when you hear about or when you think about Indonesia's investment environment?
Yeah, thank you, Pastor, for the questions. I think the in overall, yeah, I think Indonesia is quite potential investment
Hmm.
destination, especially for the green investment, because we have a lot of momentum in the global agenda as well as by the government commitments. Also, in a macro level, Indonesia has a very good, I think, macro outlook,
Hmm.
macroeconomic outlook, with large markets and then also abundance of natural resources,
Hmm.
including the forest for nature-based solutions, the natural
Hmm.
capital.
Right.
But I think Indonesia may be falling into a frontier countries. Yeah, what I mean by frontier countries is that although the potential is high, but
Hmm.
there are still a lot of risk that the investors will need to navigate. So navigating this high growth area with this risk, I think sometimes it's a bit challenging, and we can probably further discuss how this is. But yeah, I think the view of Indonesia in general is country, yeah, for investment.
All right. Interesting. So you see the environment in the perspective of opportunity and risk. I think those two things are very interesting. And if you talk about opportunity, you say that it seems that you say that Indonesia as a country has some potential, yeah, for investment. And I would like to see your view. If you talk about specific to infrastructure project, do you think that Indonesia has a scalable investment opportunity that could attract investor?
Yeah, I think there are several green investment areas, yeah, especially in the infrastructure sector, that is scalable in Indonesia. But I think the scale of the project itself is a bit uneven at this moment,
Oh,
meaning that
okay.
certain projects are able to scale without additional like a risk enhancing mechanism.
Hmm.
But certain areas will need to probably have additional risk enhancement mechanisms for it to be more scalable. Yeah. So I think for the scalable one, probably we can talk about the geothermal expansion. I think the
Hmm.
geothermal
Okay.
expansion, we have seen that there are a lot of renewable energy infrastructure in this area, as well as the commercial and industrial solar. We see that solar PV and solar power plants has becoming, in terms of technology, becoming cheaper and
Hmm.
cheaper, and then also, yeah, a lot of the solar projects has already in scale,
Hmm.
uh, as well as I think the EV industry for the critical minerals and the
Hmm.
downstreaming. We see that Indonesia has quite successful to secure large deals on
Hmm.
this area. So I think it presents uh, opportunity by itself. Yeah, but for certain areas which is a bit difficult to scale, I think this
Hmm.
is where the government support and then the blended finance mechanisms, the de-risking mechanisms
Yeah.
will need to in play. I think for some like renewable energy projects still quite struggling because of the
Hmm.
risk sharing mechanism. So I think those are some of the uneven areas. Yeah. So yes, there are scalable projects, but still it
Hmm.
is a bit uneven. So some enhancement on the de-risking and financing may
Hmm.
be required.
All right. Um, Considering those opportunities in the renewable sectors, um, how do you see the ease to find access of information to those projects as investor? Do you find it easy to collect information of the project?
Yeah, I think what investors generally feel about this is they have a good information direction in terms of the direction. But so I
Hmm.
think for the renewable energy, we know that Indonesia is quite has a big commitment to that, and then there
Hmm.
are some documents that already document this in the government level,
Okay.
like RUPTL and also the uh, information in international organizations platform like
Hmm.
SDG Indonesia One or JETP, ETM. So I think those informations in terms of the direction and a milestone of project and planning, yeah, is there, but probably investors are struggling to understand the project level information. So the project
All
level
right.
information meaning, for example, on the permit, yeah,
Yes.
sometimes the permit will require not only the information but also
Hmm.
relationship with the local governments
Sure.
and
Yes.
local companies. So I think this is a bit area where investors may not see the big picture, and then also the process for getting
Hmm.
certain license, for example. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
they read the regulation, but uh, the practice between the regulation and the practice is a bit deviating. So I think in terms of
Okay.
timeline, for example, in terms of additional processes, sometimes they may find this. So I think yeah, we feel that in the planning and high level direction, this is a bit uh, easy for an investor to find,
Hmm.
and it gives a good signal for the investor. But in the project level implementation, I think the information is a bit limited, yeah, for investors that has no like a local relationship.
Hmm.
So I think the challenge is in the project level information.
All right. Very interesting. Especially when you touch about the policy and regulation. I think we will go to there. Before that, as you mentioned that you can collect some information from documents and some publication made by the government. How do you see the credibility of the information provided by Indonesian government so that you can feel confidence to take further actions to explore the opportunities?
Yeah, thank you. But I think for the information from the government side, of course, this is a very good market signal because the
Hmm.
information is, we believe it's credible one. But the
Hmm.
government information, I think the challenge is typically it is more on the policy level or high
Hmm.
level information, meaning that probably this is the milestone that the government would like to achieve by
Hmm.
uh, certain year, and then also targets on service improvement, for example, and then also for certain sector like PLN has RUPTL. So I think it's also a credible document.
All
But
right.
again, I think yeah, the issue is whether the some of the information to actually implement the project is there or not. Yeah. So I think a lot of this information is in the project level, and yeah, maybe it's a bit difficult for the government to cover all of the projects, right? So I think, yeah,
Okay.
then the investor will need to partner or probably cooperate with other parties to obtain the information.
All right. Okay. Very interesting. Now, I would like to touch about policy and regulatory frameworks. Um, when we think about the clarity and the consistency in investing in Indonesia, how do you perceive the role of the Indonesian policies and regulatory framework? Do the policy or the regulation signals the clarity or consistency, or do you have any other view?
Yeah, but I think in general, the clarity and consistency is actually as a direction, this is
Hmm.
very clear. But in terms of the procedures, in terms of how
Okay.
we operationalize, I think it's a bit
Hmm.
fragmented. Yeah.
All right.
So I would say directionally clear, but procedurally it's fragmented. So I think
Hmm.
the good thing about the policy, I think it gives a positive signals. The
Hmm.
policy itself is highlighting the high-level commitments of
Hmm.
Indonesian government. For example, Indonesia has the net zero target of 2060, and
Yeah.
then with the enhanced NDCs document, and then there are some dedicated regulations on renewable tariffs, on
Hmm.
sectoral, as well as the in terms of financing, there are initiative like SDG Indonesia One or issuance of sovereign green bonds and regulations on the sustainable financing. So I think this signals a very strong government
Hmm.
direction. But again, I think the gaps is maybe on some policy shifts. So while the policy is there, but sometimes it's changing, and
Yeah.
then it's changing over the course of probably a bit of a shorter
Hmm.
period. So maybe within one period of presidents, there are several policy, and then we
Hmm.
also see a risk when there is a change of executive office. The policy direction is also tend to change. So then I think this is a bit mismatch with the project cycle, because
All
if you know
right.
that the project cycle is 15, 25 years, so yeah,
Yes.
sometimes this frequent policy shifts is the challenge that the investor face. And then also, I think in terms of authorities, for example, sometimes
Mm.
there are overlapping authorities because Indonesia has a decentralized model. Yeah. So I think
Mm.
the way the decision is made in Indonesia is not enforced by a single unit, but rather a consensus of a lot of ministries
All right.
and entities. Yeah, so then I think the dynamics between the coordination is also something that the investor will need to navigate. Yeah, quite to understand the local dynamic from there. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's on the policy part.
All right. Well, I'd like to elaborate more on the aspect of the procedures that you've just mentioned. You said that the policy and regulation in terms of direction is clear. However, it it leave the procedural aspect uh, fragmented. Yeah. Um, what is your view on the ease of the procedure if you consider the policy and the regulation framework?
Yeah, I think there has been a very good improvement on the ease
Hmm.
of procedure for investing. So I think this is a very good, actually, efforts, yeah, taken by the government of Indonesia. But still, I think the complexity is there. So we still need to, investor will still need to navigate through these complexities. Maybe I can give some example.
Yeah.
So for the improvements, I think there has been improvement in terms of the centralized licensing with the OSS,
Oh,
online
okay. Yeah.
certification. So the OSS is, I think we heard that this is quite helpful for the investors because they simplified the permits and registrations compared to the past where they need to basically obtain all of the permits, yeah, under different procedures. And then also in terms of the priority of the sectors, green infrastructure and green projects are often included in the positive investment list. So that is
Hmm.
also giving a good investor incentives such as the tax holiday or import duty exemption. So I think that is
Yeah.
also a good improvement that is made by the government in Indonesia. And then also there is growing climate finance platform. So
Hmm.
SDG Indonesia One, and then the green bonds and so on. It's already an instrument that the government of Indonesia is now trying to elaborate more. Yeah. So I
Hmm.
think it is also one development. But the bottleneck still, although given the improvements, the
Hmm.
bottlenecks is still there,
Hmm.
and this is mainly because of some, for example, bureaucratic layers. What I
Hmm.
mean by bureaucratic layers is that investors still face some layers in terms of there is approval in the national level, and then
Hmm.
there is approval at the local level, there is requirement at the sectoral
Yeah.
level. So I think it's not, yeah, sometimes for the investor, it's not like a clear pathways, yeah, where to go and then what to get. So I think that's one on the bureaucratic layers. And then the second for the project preparation, for example, like land acquisition, AMDAL,
Hmm.
community consultations. This is, I think, is also a quite complex process which
All
will
right.
need local local wisdom, yeah, and local understanding. So sometimes the procedures in the regulation is guidance, but in reality, the way to do it is probably more complex, as Pa also understands quite well. And sometimes there is also some differing interpretation, yeah, between
Hmm.
the national and local government, for example, for
Okay.
interpreting certain regulations, or maybe in the case of waste to energy, for example. At the time, we interpret that regulation on PPP can coexist with regulation on tipping fee subsidy, for example, or with FIT regulation. But then the interpretation of this regulation is, I think there is no consensus. Yeah, I think probably if it's for the new regulation, it's a bit difficult or take time for the stakeholders to get into common understanding.
All right.
So I think that is also some areas where this type of things can happen. And then also lastly, I think in terms of the ease of doing business, I think one of the challenge for the private players is also to have a fair level of playing field because
Oh,
there is
okay. Yes.
a tendency of also state-owned enterprise dominance. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
some of the SOEs are probably more dominant in than any other players. For example, in the energy sector. So yeah, I think it's a bit challenging for the investor to come
Hmm.
into the sectors where there is already big presence of
Okay.
SOE. Yeah,
Okay. Very interesting when you say about the fair the fair playing of Philly in the
yeah,
industry. Um, yeah, I think that's one of the issue of the research, yeah, that we would like to explore. Um, in response to your explanation about uh, the complexity in the operational level, such as the coordination between ministries or institutions and different perceptions with regard to a regulation and complexities in obtaining approvals or permits in the some level of governments. How those would affect the investor confidence to take further actions in your view?
yeah. I think in general the investor is quite appetite is quite strong, Pak, for Indonesia.
Hmm.
I think they continuously see Indonesia as a good destination for investment.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, I think the view for the investor is to take this as a reality now. So the reality of
Hmm.
Indonesian investment is they need to get around the challenges here. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of the investors, the serious one, will really invest not only relying on the what is available in
Hmm.
the market, but they also tend to push beyond the market itself. Yeah, so they need to
Hmm.
then build local relationships with the local government
Okay.
and local companies in Indonesia, and then they will probably push for like policy de-risking as well as
Hmm.
financial de-risking instruments to structure the project here. So that's how some of the investors survive. So I think with those, how do I say, ways of innovation by the investor,
Okay.
uh, yeah, they do the risk still is manageable. So I think uh, the risk for some of the investor who is willing to really invest in Indonesia, it becomes manageable because of these proactive steps, yeah, that they take. But
Yeah.
if the government wants more investors to come in without like a very high barrier to entry,
Hmm.
then I think we need to address some of these issues, yeah, then
All
make
right.
the improvements for more investors to come.
Okay. As you just mentioned about race, I think that's one of key point when we talk about investing, right? We need
Yeah.
to balance risk and return. Um, how do you perceive the confidence of the investors in managing
Hmm.
risk? in all aspect
Yeah,
in when they are investing in Indonesia.
yeah. Yeah, I think the risk for the investor, I think they understand, yeah, in emerging markets
Mm,
like Indonesia, that the risk is there.
mm,
And then sometimes these risks are also structural, meaning that it may not be solved just by project, but there
all
is
right.
some risk
Mm,
that more in terms of the high level one. For example,
mm,
I think it's the foreign exchange risk. Yeah, it's a bit
okay.
difficult to, yeah, to solve the foreign exchange risk. So there are ways where investors is yeah, using their own, I think,
Mm,
resource to do that. But I think for the investors, like mentioned before, yeah, some of the investors who understand Indonesia very well, they think that the risk is still manageable because
mm,
there are ways to, yeah, still uh, be present in Indonesia, especially with forming a local partnerships and then having a good local understanding. So that's why I think a lot of investor who already in Indonesia
mm,
and then operating in Indonesia, I think they are more familiar with this risk and how to
mm.
deal with it. But for new investors, I think they need to make certain efforts and certain projects, yeah, on the ground before they understand what they need to do.
All right. Okay. Considering those risks, do you think that return in investing in Indonesia could sufficiently compensate those risks, um, so that it's still attractive for the investor to invest?
Yeah. Okay, Pak. I think the potential returns in Indonesian investment is still higher than the risk.
Hmm.
But again, this is not always similar, yeah, across project
Okay.
types. So I think the investor will need to structure the deals,
Hmm.
or they need to use the blended finance support to be able to really gain the return from the investments. So I think some of the returns are most attractive in like
Hmm.
a renewable energy investment, and then EV or battery investment, as well as some how do I say, basically revenue generating
Hmm.
projects. Yeah, but there are certain projects which probably is more cost centered, and then government contribution probably required. Certain
Okay.
climate financing may be required. So for those type of project like water or waste projects, I think uh, the investor will need to gain or obtain certain concessional finance, yeah, or
Okay.
also to have the risking mechanism to be able to really gain the return.
All right. So one last question, Mr. Gineng. Given that risk and return, and we have discussed about the policy and the regulatory framework, you said that some project may need concessional loans or concessional financing or government support, right? How do you see the current policy and the regulatory frameworks? Do they uh, welcome or facilitate investors to cope up with those risks and return, or the just it it is left to the investor to struggle with?
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting question, Pak. Yeah, I think the government has been trying to explore a lot of instruments, ya, Pak, ya, to provide this type of conventional financing as well as the risking mechanisms. So one of the example is, I think, the VGF, the guarantee mechanism, the
Okay.
tariff adjustment mechanism, subsidy. So I think a lot of that are explored for sectors that is not generally generating income.
Hmm.
So it has been there, but I think the
Hmm.
issue is also about the fiscal capacity, right? So
Hmm.
how strong is the government? How strong government can support, and how much the
All right.
government can support? So I think then the question will become on how do I say, to strengthen the fiscal capacity of the government, which in this case probably it should extend not only the role of the central government, but also we have been discussing about how the local government should also take part. I think there are a lot of ways where local government can probably increase or improve their fiscal capacity. So we
Hmm.
hope that with those type of efforts, then the government can exercise or can provide more support to the projects which are economically viable but financially uh, not viable or less viable. Yeah. But also, I think government is innovating on the ways to uh, generate more finance from
Hmm.
outside source.
Hmm.
So I
Okay.
think a lot of this, yeah, coming from the private finance, and
Yeah.
then starting, I think also coming from the international climate funds such as Green Climate Fund, GEF, and so on. And I think we have
Hmm.
also been exploring the carbon financing through Article 6 of Paris Agreement, because we have the bilateral carbon market also. So I think that's where yeah, the government can benefit, yeah, from getting this type of global financing and capturing those for strengthening the role of the government and the risking mechanism.
All right. Just quick uh response from you. Um, are they different uh field if you talk about infrastructure as general or green infrastructure?
Sorry, Pak. Would you mind to repeat
Yeah, yeah,
the
sorry. I mean, when you talk about the effort from the government to welcome or to facilitate the investor, are they the same between green investment and non-green investment?
Yeah, okay, Pak. Very interesting question as well. I think, yeah, the nature is a bit different for the green investment.
Okay.
I think this presents challenge and opportunities in a way. The challenge is typically green investment is an investment that maybe has lower returns, and then
Right.
also
Hmm.
it may also serve as a conservation purpose. For example, if we are talking about the nature-based solutions investment, yeah.
Hmm.
So this is more about conserving forestry or
Okay.
certain water bodies. So probably the revenue is not or is different with the conventional infrastructure. So I think the challenge is for the green investment to be able to be bankable. I think they will need additional risk enhancement
Hmm.
mechanism, yeah, or
Okay.
some concessional financing. But the opportunity is, I think a lot of the global shifts are shifting towards this type of investments, and
Okay.
the investors are already shifting to this. There are international climate financing mechanism. There are carbon pricing mechanism, which can help the bankability of green infrastructure or green investment.
Hmm.
So yeah, this also presents some opportunities for the green infrastructure itself, because in the future we may see a lot more stranded assets. Yeah, for example, like a coal fire power plants. Yeah, probably in the next 30, 40 years,
Hmm.
that may become a stranded assets, and that become a risk for the conventional infrastructure. So I think there is a this balance between
Okay.
how do I say, make generalizing investment in green investment now, and then trying to catch for the future opportunities.
All right. Very interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Geneng, for your sharing on your view and experience. I do appreciate all of your information, and I know that that comes from your experience and also your your involvement in government. So I I think it's very important for me to to of course to explore this on my research. I think that was the last question from me.
Okay, yeah.
Again, I'm fortunate to have you this morning. Maybe this day, yeah, because it's already
Already afternoon.
afternoon, yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
but thank you very much, Pascal. Yeah,
Yes,
it's a very interesting discussion. I hope also to continue the discussion with you, and I will
sure,
be able
sure.
to support you in any way.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. I think we can finish the interview, and I hope if in the future is there anything that I need from you, you are okay if I contact you by email or other means. Hope that I can get more information for the research. Thank you very much,
Yep. Yeah.
Mr. Gineng. Have a good day.
Yeah. Happy to support, Pascal. Yeah.
Thank you
Have a
very
nice day,
much.
Pascal.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye, Pak.